Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Behind the Anchor as we get set for Week 11 versus Maine, and we are very excited to bring you, we're going to talk about some big wins, new matchups, and much more, but as always, before we get into all of that, we get to say hello to the man, the myth, the legend, Head Coach Jim Fleming, and Coach, I was just sitting down here and admiring some of your beautiful attire. I don't know if I had ever noticed the football behind us here.
The bedazzle ball. Yeah, I spent a lot of time putting that together.
Did you make that?
Absolutely not.
I was going to say, you're quite the artist.
No, it was a gift from Swarovski, I believe. I think they did one for football and basketball, and I happened to get my hands on it, and kind of a flashy piece.
Well, there we go.
No doubt. No doubt.
A flashy piece for a flashy guy, if you will.
I think that's a misnomer without a doubt, but I'll take it. It's all good.
We are going to jump right into some quick hitter questions. We're switching it up this week. We're moving away from the Would You Rather. We got some different ones. The first one being, any musician in the world, you can choose who you would want to be. Who do you got for me and why?
Wow. I don't know if I could go down to one. I can go to a handful.
Okay, let's do that.
Bruce Springsteen.
The boss.
Because he's just bad. He's been doing it for a long time. But at the same time as, if I wasn't Bruce, I'd want to be Clarence Clemens.
Oh, I love that you just said that.
No kidding.
Yep.
You know Clarence.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he made me want to play the saxophone.
If I could play the saxophone. You know me, but I wouldn't know you, man. I'd just be all famous. But then there's Dave Matthews, get up there and just jam away. And the one that'll make you laugh is, probably one of the coolest guys ever, though, Justin Timberlake.
Really?
Yeah, be able to get up there and move around like him. That's pretty cool.
I think that would be the last person I would have expected.
Yeah,
but I love it.
Yeah, my wife likes him, so I figure I might as well try to emulate him.
Make her happy. There you go. Right. All right, there's our musicians. What is one thing about you that people may not guess or see about you based on first impression that you want the people to know? Anything that you think?
I would think that the thing that people that would get to know me now would be surprised to find out that at one point in time I was a runner, a distance runner.
A distance runner?
Absolutely. Half marathons, a marathon completed, number of them. Yeah, used to run the miles off, but body's changed a little bit and hadn't run in a long period of time.
What marathon did you run?
The Jersey Shore.
Wow.
Yeah, got it in right there at 3:59:59. Right under the 4-hour mark.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
That was cool.
That's good.
That was the goal. It was pretty cool.
And right on the Jersey Shore, you know what they call that, right? The cruise with the views.
Well, I'm telling you, I mean, the whole story behind that is my blood uncle, a guy named George Sheehan, was one of the fathers of modern running. And he was my uncle and lived down on the Jersey Shore. And he foresaw it. And when I was out recruiting one time, I stayed over with him and my Aunt Mary Jane they lived right in Monmouth County on a boardwalk. And I went out for a jog and I came running in and we were sitting down to eat dinner. He says, "Hey, Jim, don't do that every day." Meaning that you're 225 pounds. Don't be banging your knees like that. And of course he was right, because two partial knee replacements later, it has a lot to do with force and pounding, but should have listened to the guy. He was a spectacular human being. Well,
you learn something new every day, I suppose. All right, well, we got the running. If you didn't know, now you do. We have a former track star
here.
No,
not track star. Not a track star. No.
A marathon star, maybe.
Not a star. No.
You got to give yourself a pat. How many people
bit.
can say that they've been able to run a marathon?
I think anybody who really tries and really sets that as a goal can do that. It's a question of how much training and how much you want to get into it.
How much do you want it?
It was always about just, you're able to clear your head and get out there and get some jaunts in. And it was fun for a long period of time.
There we go. Last quick hitter question for you. If you could go back into time, you could go to any time period, when and where would you go?
There's so many different segments of your life to be able to come up with one. I guess the one that just popped in my head, I'd go back to the Boise days.
Yeah.
So we're talking 1987 to 1992 was my first full-time job out there at Boise. Great formative experience as a football coach, but even more importantly than that, I had 3 of my 4 children that were born out there in Boise. It was a spectacular place to live and just start your career in a big time way, and family, the whole 9 yards. So I guess I'd go back and visit those days and see what it looks like.
Love it. The family man through and through. Yeah. There it is. That's a look at our quick hitter questions. We're going to step aside for a short break. When we come back, we're going to recap week 10 versus Elon. Welcome back, everyone, to Behind the Anchor, as we are going to jump into some football here. And, we had an exciting matchup as the Rams headed down to North Carolina, took a plane out there. Shout out to the airline crew, fantastic through and through, and didn't have too many issues, fortunate enough to not have too many delays. But the Rams, more importantly, picked up a big road win. How does this kind of win on the road late in the season build your team's confidence for the remaining games and what you hope to be an eventual playoff push?
Yeah, I think that's significant, but let's get back to the airline. Breeze Airlines, you got to give them a plug, man. I mean, those are the airline for the Rhody Rams. They really did us a great job and are really hospitable and really do a really nice job for us.
Yes, they do.
Back to the football. A road victory like that is monumentally important, but we've been talking the last couple of weeks about November.
Yeah.
The significance of games in November, how important they are, because that's the time things really start to form up. They're concerning. Anytime you go on the road, and I think we've talked about this before as well, that there's a lesser percentage of likelihood of winning, regardless of what you carried. And we came in, I think, at 6.5. We started off like 6.5 point favorites by the odds makers, and then went down to 4.5, I think, by the time kickoff. And that was probably fairly accurate, looking at the quality of the opponent we had to play. But I walked off the field at the conclusion of that game, as you said, more confident about our abilities to go anywhere and be able to perform at that kind of level.
Yep.
I think it will be a tough out for just about anybody. I was really impressed with the way we played football on Saturday. We obviously have things that I got angry about and didn't want to ever see again. The punt return for a touchdown being number one, but I think that there was a very, very solid performance on really all 3 phases of the game. Got to clean up a couple things still on special teams, but that was a solid performance. A really good football team was on the field the other day, and I thought we played with great passion and energy. And so I'm hopeful and expecting to carry that on, and as we do each and every week, try to better our best. And it's going to be necessary this weekend versus Maine.
Now, when you talk about that success that you saw on last Saturday, a lot of that came from a dominant second quarter, 17 points put up. Your team, Rhode Island, has almost kind of changed the narrative a couple of times later in the season this year, rather than going into the fourth quarter down, been able to get out to a couple of early leads. The same story was written in that second quarter, gave a 24-10 lead, as we mentioned. But what's your message in games like that when you go into the locker room to ensure that kind of, just momentum and energy flying around, as you said, continues throughout all 4 quarters and all 3 phases?
Yeah, I don't think there's a magic answer at halftime. I mean, whether you're up, whether you're down, you still have 30 minutes to go, and you know that the game is within reach for both teams. You talk about how we've flipped the narrative or the script, in terms of when we've exploded. It's kind of just what you see about our football team. I mean, we have the ability to be explosive and to stack things. And when you start playing off of one another, that can happen at any point in time of the game.
Yeah.
But I thought, it was dynamic in that first half, but I think it all comes down to the first offensive drive. We made a mistake in terms of how we handled the kickoff, ended up starting off on the 3-yard line, and watched our team methodically go down the field, both run and pass. convert on third down, to be able to finish off a 97-yard drive with real clean execution. I thought it was really cool, and those kinds of things are there for us at any point in time. And you'd like to be able to think you can do it, consistently throughout the game and control it that way. And we had a chance to, but we didn't do it. That's the step we need to make next. But this script will be different this week than it was last week. So as long as we're able to go ahead and come out with 1 point more at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal.
Now, Devin Farrell had another very efficient game last week, 24 for 30, 309 yards in the air, and 2 touchdowns. Now, when you think of the importance of not only having one of your leaders be the guy that brings everybody together, but as you talk about playing some of his best football in November, and I want to go back to last year where we were in a similar situation coming down to the wire and not having Devin Farrell. When you watch him build off of that, have that kind of in the back of his mind and see him succeed in these scenarios to put his team in a position to win, just what does that mean as this team looks forward to going through the last 2 regular season games?
Well, they used to say that Reggie Jackson was the straw that stirred the drink, right? Reggie Jackson, great, October, Mr. October, clutch time. I think, Devin's kind of our Mr. November right now, but overall, I mean, he's our leader on offense in terms of his ability to be the quarterback, handle the responsibilities that are associated with that position, to be able to understand that he's going to get a lot of the credit, when it's good, and he's going to get a lot of the blame when it's not. But his steadiness has been phenomenal. And last weekend, it was, watching him operate was really, enjoyable for me to watch. I mean, I looked at him a couple of times, thought he was going to take a sack, and, he found himself getting out of it in a big time way, eyes downfield, found great gains for a big hitter. He's a special player, but it's a result of, having really good talent, but a tremendous work ethic. He's a perfectionist to some extent, but spends a lot of time in preparation, has a process, wants to follow that to the detail each and every week. And, he's been prepared to play every time we've given him the reins, and he's done a really nice job ever since the first time that he won that game for us at Holy Cross 2 years ago.
There we are.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Again, Rhode Island picking up a big win down there against Elon. We're going to step aside for a quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk a big matchup this week coming in versus Maine. Well, welcome back, everyone, to Behind the Anchor. Week 11, and we say it every week, but it just keeps on coming no matter whether we realize it or not. We were just saying before we sat down, this morning was one of those mornings, or at least for me, where you kind of wake up and you're just like, man, it's one of those days where you're excited to get out of bed, but man, when that alarm goes off, sometimes it's a little harder to get out and rolling. But I'll tell you what, when you got a matchup like this, in a scenario like this, which we'll talk more about in a second, but when you think about some of the things that you consider to be essential for Rhode Island to do in order to walk away with a victory this week, what are 1 or 2 things that kind of come to the front of your mind first off?
Well, you break it down. It's easier to do it that way. Offensively, you have to, number one, you have to take care of the football. That's a requirement each and every week. Our ability to be balanced, I think, has helped us. I'd love to be able to. You got to control the line of scrimmage. If we control the line of scrimmage right now and open up holes to give our backs opportunities to run and be able to go ahead and protect Devin, we know we have explosive playmaking ability. So I think those are the 2 things: protect the football and win the line of scrimmage. On defense, I think that, the number one thing you have to do versus these guys is to stop the run. If you can't stop it, you got to control it. You got to control the explosions in the run game. They're dynamic with a couple of their backs. I think that they're very well coached, and the quarterback's a threat, so they've got a couple of receivers out there that can hurt you. So I think it really, again, it goes back to the front guys. The front seven, I think he's got to do a really good job fitting the run, and then we got to do a good job in the back end of keeping the explosions down. And the challenge for us defensively is, and then I've told him, I said, if you can find a way to take the ball off them 2 to 3 times, that's going to make our day at the office a heck of a lot easier. And then you point to the special teams, and they're dynamic in their return games, and that's a concern. We gave up one last week. We worked hard to prepare to fix that. We got to go out. We got to perform on our coverage unit, so we make sure we limit that possibility of getting you. Because, at this point in time, any mistake right now that can flip the game, can lose a ring for you. And that's how significant it is. Doesn't mean you got to go play tight, but you got to go play with focus, and you got to play with energy, and you got to play and execute at a very high level.
Now, when you think about the conversations that we've had in previous weeks, we talk about the importance of every game, especially within conference. This one proves to be no different. Maine has won 6 consecutive games and sits at 4th, tied with only 1 loss in conference right now, along with 3 other teams. Rhode Island, 4 straight victories, sits at 1st with 6-0 in conference now. But when you think about these 2 teams coming in to an impressive matchup down the stretch, how does this not only prepare a team for its confidence in winning big games, but also being able to potentially show a committee that, hey, we can come in November and beat a good team on the road and just show that you are the team that we all know we are?
First steps first. You got to beat them.
Yep.
And they're a quality opponent, as you say, a team that believes. I've got, watching them on tape, you always try to get an impression of the character of the football team, and I think that they're just playing they're a good football team. They seem to be, built a little bit the same way we are, about hard-working kids that are just ready to go play the game, play extremely hard. So first and foremost, we got to win this football game. If we do, how will that be perceived? That's up to the selection committee. I mean, I never try to get too involved in the rankings.
Yeah.
It certainly seems like, they're very reluctant to push us up. I thought we might make a jump last week on the road versus Elon, tough out. And but you'd like to try to get in that top 8 because you think that maybe you got a chance to get a bye if we can get into the playoffs. But we have two games we got to play. We got to beat Maine, and then we got to beat Hampton, and we'll see where it lays. But I think to go on the road and play a surging Maine team and beat them on the road up there late in November has got to be considered when people start looking at the body of work that we put together.
Now, another thing that we have talked about, and this feeds right into exactly what you're kind of just hitting on there, and I love this message that you talked about from the very beginning of the season, the saying of controlling your own destiny. Now, Rhode Island being at the top of the CAA right now with 2 games remaining has the quote-unquote ability to control their own destiny. If we do everything that needs to be done in our side, we are guaranteed to walk into the playoffs. When you think about that as a coach, how does it feel to be able to say that you have that control over your own destiny and have put yourselves in a position to at least do what you need to do and not worry about others, what other games are happening?
Yeah, I think that's an earned right. It's an earned privilege. In our locker room on the wall, it says discipline determines destiny. And our disciplined approach to the next 2 weeks, our focus, our execution, our concentration, all of those things, if we continue to ratchet up to a championship level and you're able to accomplish the task, then, I mean, it certainly speaks volumes about where you are as a football team and as a program. So it's a daunting task we got ahead of us, but I think that, we're prepared to take that step.
Love it. Well, that is about it for us here at Rhody and Behind the Anchor. Again, a 1 p.m. kickoff this weekend, up in Maine as we head up north for a long travel down there. It is going to be cold, but the energy needs to be brought nonetheless. As we always say, be sure to tune in unless you feel like driving up to Maine, which we highly encourage all of you Rhody fans out there to do. Please come and wear all of your Rhody blue. And as always, wear and bring the ruckus. Coach, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you sitting down with us.
Absolutely.
And until next time, Noah McLean saying stay safe, stay dry, and go Rhody.